Hi everybody, in this video we're going to answer a type of percent word problem which I call a find the percent of the whole problem. So answer the following find the percent of the whole problem using all three methods being the proportion strategy, the equation strategy, and the operation strategy. For the proportion strategy, we're just going to write what I already wrote over here. Part over whole equals percent over 100. Oh, I forgot to read the problems. Let's do that. There are 80 pieces of fruit in a basket. 40 of them are tangerines. What percent of the fruit are tangerines? So over here I have a picture of a fruit basket. Imagine that there are 80 pieces of fruit total in this fruit basket, and not all of them are tangerines, only 40 of them are tangerines. We want to figure out the percent of the fruit that are tangerines, so that I know that it's 40 out of 80, but what would that be as a percent? It can't be 100%, because that means that all of the fruit would be tangerines. It can't be 0%, because that would mean none of the fruit are tangerines. But if 40 out of the 80 fruit are tangerines, then what percent is that? So what we're going to do is we're going to plug in the numbers that we know. So for part over here, we're going to plug in the number 40 because that's the part of the fruit basket which is tangerines. So we'll put 40 in the numerator. And we'll put that over the whole number of pieces of fruit that are in the fruit basket, which is 80. And what we're looking for is the percent. We don't know the percent. That's what we're looking for. So we're going to put an X over here, and we're going to put that over 100 because a percent is just a number out of 100. So for example, 25% literally means 25 over 100. Okay, in fact, the percent symbol is just a rearrangement of the digits in 100, 100. So the 1 is like this thing over here. It was just taken and put in between the zeros. That's literally where the percent symbol came from. So that's our proportion over there, and we're just going to solve that proportion for x. So we will cross multiply. So 80 times x is 80x. So let's write 80x over here equals, and then 40 times 100 is 4,000. So we'll write 4,000 over here. And then our last step is going to be to solve for x. So this is 80 times x. To get rid of that, we need to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division, and we need to divide both sides, because whatever we do to one side, we have to do the same thing to the other. So we'll divide both sides by 80. It cancels over here. We get x equals, and then 4,000 divided by 80 is going to be 50. Okay, so that tells us that, remember, what we were looking for was the percent. That's 50 over 100. So x is 50. So over here we see it's 50 over 100, which literally means 50%. So our final answer is that 50% of the fruit are tangerines. Now, another way we could have answered that, well, and by the way, you should know that 50% means half. 100% is everything, 0% is nothing, and right in the middle you have 50%, which is half. And that answer should make sense because 40 is half of 80, so half of that fruit was tangerines. All right, now let's answer the same exact problem using the equation strategy. And to answer the equation strategy, we're going to write part equals percent times whole. Part equals percent times whole. And then what do we know for this problem? We know that the whole number of fruit, the whole number of pieces of fruit is 80. So we can plug that in here. The part of the fruit basket, which was tangerines, was 40. So we can plug that over here. And let's also not forget to write the equal sign there. Now, we don't know the percent. Well, we know it because we answered it already using the proportion strategy. But before we did that, we didn't know it, right? So let's just put an X over here for the percent. Now, keep in mind that when you're using the equation strategy, the percent is always in decimal form. So after we figure out what X is, then we're going to have to convert it back into percent form. Now, to find X, I have here X times 100 is equal to 40. Sometimes, if you don't want to get the X confused with the multiplication symbol, then instead of writing the multiplication symbol as an X, you could just write it as a dot. It means the exact same thing. Anyway, over here we have X times 80 equals 40. So to get rid of that 80, we would have to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division. So let's divide both sides by 80. So it would cancel over here, and we would get X equals 40 divided by 80 is 0.5. Now, to convert a decimal into a percent, what you do is you take the decimal point and you move it 2 spaces to the right. Here's why you do that. I said, let's see, did I say that in this video, or I think I said in this video, right? It might have been in the other video. I'll have to rewind. But anyway, what does a percent literally mean? It literally means a number over 100. So 25%, for example, means 25 over 100. If I wanted to convert a percent into a decimal, what I would do is I would just move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. And the reason that I do that, let me get this fruit basket out of the way for a second. The reason that I do that is because when we divide something by 100, we really just move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. Okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for this. Okay, so 25 divided by 100, I could move the decimal point, which is at the end of the number, 2 spaces to the left, and I would get 0.25. So if I'm going from here to here, if I want to convert a percent into a decimal, I move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left, which means that if I want to go the other way, if I already have something in decimal form and I want to convert it into percent form, then I would have to move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right to get it into percent form. So that's exactly what I'm going to do over here. To get this into percent form, I would move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, and in this blank space, I would put a 0. Okay, so 0 goes in there. So I have X equals 50%. 0.5 is not equal to 50. 0.5 is equal to 50%. Okay, so again, I get the same answer that I got before. All right, and now let's do the final strategy, which is the operation strategy. So this is not the operation strategy over here. This is just me explaining, hopefully, that to convert a percent into a decimal, you move the decimal point 2 spaces to the left. To convert a decimal into a percent, you move the decimal point 2 spaces to the right. All right, now let's use the operation strategy. So to find the percent of the whole, just divide the part by the whole and then convert your answer into a percent, which really is exactly the same thing that we did over here when we used the equation strategy. Okay, we had to, in the end, to find X, what we really needed to do was to take the part, which was 40, and divide it by the whole, which was 80. So the operation strategy is exactly that. We're going to take the part, which in this problem is 40, and divide it by the number for the whole, meaning the whole amount of fruit that was in that basket, which was 80. We get 0.5, but then we just take that 0.5 and we convert it into percent form by moving the decimal point 2 spaces to the right, and we would get, remember in this blank space we would put a 0, so we would get 50%. Okay, and again, that makes sense because 40 is half of 80, and 50% means half, as opposed to 100%, which is everything. So it makes sense that we got 50% as our answer. So that's it, and have a great day.